everybody, Lord Tremendous here, and I got another book review for you. This was another book that was the author reached out and asked me to review it. I paid around $3.99 for it on Kindle, which wasn't bad at all. It's available on paperback as well for $9.95. It's got about 252 pages in it, and it was published April 8th of this year, 2019. So all in all, not terrible. This is an accomplished author. He's got one, two, three, four, five, six. This is his seventh book, it looks like, and yeah, he's got some followers and everything like that. So this is not his first foray into the writing genre. From Legend is obviously the first in the series, and loosely, it's about a guy named Logan Hale who is I think this is a mystery fantasy like hybrid. Logan Hale is basically the town's sheriff or protector. He's called a reeve, and he's a weird, brooding, kind of a sulky guy. Kind of for lack of a better way to put it, not your favorite person in the world. He seems dedicated to the town in his head, but his actions speak much different. And long story short, he's a weird guy. All right, I'm just going to say it. He's a weird dude. He likes to walk around on the rooftops of this town. And I think it's like an alternate reality where technology never for some reason caught up, or maybe we lost technology, because in the very beginning of the book it gives you this weird prologue where basically this guy goes out and like seizures prophecy and then just goes back inside. I guess it's like a yearly event from it. Never really makes any sense. I guess it's supposed to be foreboding. And then we end up in a town that sometimes is a Wild West type of town with no guns, and sometimes it's a weird clockwork city made of stone and intricate spires and stuff. And I get confused about the size of the city and the town, and like there's a bridge that leads out of it, but there doesn't seem to be any other real defenses. There's no army, there's no guards. It's just this Reeve guy, Logan. And I'm so confused. I'm so confused. So anyway, it starts off and he's patrolling the town like he's an Assassin's Creed version of Batman. He's running around on the rooftops. He's a 200-pound dude. And I know that because this book is definitely not my taste. Let's get that out of the way right away. It's very flowery. It's very descriptive, over the top descriptions in every paragraph. He stepped back into the inky blackness of the shadows, allowing it to swallow him whole, like stepping into the maw of some angry beast. He watched the maiden in her cornflower blue dress, with the stained apron and slightly askewed and frayed bonnet on her perfectly rounded and sightly head. It's every paragraph is way over the top. Just like there's 16 words in every paragraph that don't need to be there. He stepped into the shadows to watch the lady as she did her chores. Next friggin' sentence. It was so bad I found myself having to go back and reread the paragraph because my brain started filtering it all out. Like, this is just nonsense words. It's popcorn words. It's just filler. It drove me crazy. It actually made me mad at some point because I wanted to get to the story. I'm not saying not to describe your world, but when you overindulge your vocabulary ego with this kind of description, it kills the story. Just kills it. But honestly, I don't even know how much of a story there was. I'm so confused about the motivations of the main character and everything else that I barely know what happened after reading this thing. So the main character is the sheriff, right? And he does his Batman thing where he runs across rooftops and jumps in between buildings. And okay, so he's a parkour nut. All right, he's a big parkour nut, but he's a parkour nut. He dresses like an old-fashioned gunslinger, so he's got fashion sense. And he's got these weird little gloves on with hooks in them like he's a ninja, so that when he slams into a wall that he throws himself into, somehow he sticks to the damn thing and is able to climb like Spider-Man. So he's got all sorts of crazy stuff. It doesn't really tell you how he learned how to do any of this stuff, but what it does tell you is that He's got a really intense workout regimen where he carries tree logs through the forest as fast as he can until he collapses. Then he binds his hands behind him and goes swimming, just using his feet until, I don't know, he crawls out or drowns. And then he reads a lot, which makes him stronger, faster, and smarter than everyone else. I know, but I suspended my disbelief because, hey, a solid story can push me through any of this stuff. There isn't one. This guy, after doing his Batman thing, he goes and he chases after, or he hears someone screaming, so he goes and checks that out. It's a mom. Her son has been pulled out of the river. There's a bridge that leads into the town that's about 50 feet tall. Dude left a suicide letter, kills himself, throws himself off, off the bridge. Well, Logan's job as the sheriff, as the Reeve, is to investigate stuff like that. So he investigates, and he is like, yep, looks like he definitely threw himself off the bridge. Definitely looks like it was a suicide. They say that there's a letter back home. Awesome. But then he checks, and there's some strangulation marks around his neck, and some of his blood vessels are burst in his eye, which, according to this sleuth, is grounds to believe that it's asphyxiation. Now, I'm willing to bet that he drowned, but I guess the marks around the neck make this guy think, you know what, this is too far. However, the weird part about this is he believes, honestly, 100% that this guy meant to kill himself. He just, intuition, right? And okay, maybe he's really good at his job. I don't know. I'm just meeting this guy. He believes that the guy really meant to kill himself. He knows the guy, he knows of him, but they weren't friends or anything. In fact, this guy doesn't seem to have any friends. And he knows that the city, the government, the people that employ him would just want it to be a suicide. It's all there. There's no real reason to look into it, but he sees something that's not sitting right with him, so he decides he's going to investigate further. So at first I'm like, all right, this guy has a real, his motivation is justice, is carrying out the law, is doing what he's supposed to do. And I can respect that until a chapter or so later, the body of Otto has been moved instead of to the surgeon, the doctor's clinic for an autopsy. It's moved to an apothecary's house, which, of course, the government approved. Somebody in the government, his bosses said, yep, that's who we want to do that, not the doctor. So he's all like, well, that's unusual. I don't like that, because the apothecary is a scumbag. The book makes that very clear. So he's the Reeve. He's the sheriff. He's got authority. He can literally walk over to the apothecary's place, knock on the door, or just walk the F in. Nobody can stop him. The book says as much. Although the book also says that the government's saying that the Otto's body being autopsied by the apothecary is also legal. So he's not really, whether or not he has any sway, who knows. But instead of just walking over there, he does his Assassin's Creed Batman thing across the friggin' city and then stalks the shop until these two guys come out of it. And these two guys, admittedly, are scumbags, but they're not wanted for anything. They're not doing anything wrong. They literally just walk out of a house. So this 200-pound justice guy decides he's going to throw himself off this rooftop and slam into one of the guys. Okay, first of all, that's attempted murder, if not murder. But luckily, the NPC he slams into has just enough plot armor to just be knocked down by that. He ties him up and sets him up against the wall, where the guy's like, I didn't do anything. What are you doing? And he's like, I'm the law. I was actually waiting for the Judge Dredd helmet to come on. It never happened. So the other guy that was with him runs downstairs into the cellar where the body's at, because his buddy just got attacked by Batman. And so the Reeve, the main character, goes down after him. And the guy, of course, is understandably scared. He pulls a gun, which I guess is illegal in this town. And, of course, he doesn't pull the trigger right away. He waves it around, brandishing it, and he's able to be disarmed. He gets beat up a little bit, and dude's like, you shouldn't... What are you doing? I didn't do anything. You attacked us. I am the law. He doesn't actually say that. He says something about rainbows and poems. But anyway... He tells him to put his hands up against the wall. So his justice thing seems to be very bipolar. Sometimes he's all about the law, and sometimes he'll knock the crap out of some people because it's convenient and we need an action scene. Holy crap. So after looking at the body for 10 seconds, he notices the body is starting to rot. It's starting to bloat. Rigor mortis is set in. It's all cut up and scraped up from the river. But after looking at this body for a few minutes, he notices right away that there's a cut on him that doesn't look like the rest of him. And he immediately assumes it's poison. He immediately assumes it's a very, very rare poison. It hasn't been seen in decades. But yeah, he takes a sample off the body, which is illegal. The book says it. The book literally says he shouldn't be doing this. Defiling the body is a no-no. He runs into the apothecary, who further backs that up and says, if you defiled that body in any way, I'm gonna let the government know, and you're gonna get in trouble. So he goes and he takes the defilement part of the body, his tissue sample, goes to this secret lab he has in the middle of somewhere he's not supposed to be, and of course researches the poison. It is the poison that he thought it was, because damn, this guy's good. I mean, Batman could take lessons from him. He goes and he calls a special council of the courts, who have already ruled this a suicide. But he calls them all back, admits to doing everything that he wasn't supposed to do, to zero consequences, and then they go, so what do you want from us? It's a suicide. And he goes, yeah, I have no doubt it was a suicide, but somebody also poisoned him. Why? You never find out. That part's not important. We just needed a freaking hook in order to get this guy to start doing illegal stuff, I guess. And so they go, what do you want from us? And he's like, well, this could be this mysterious Wojin, which is some sort of Viking, werewolf, Vikings, berserkers. I have no effing idea. With all the flowery writing, you suppose he would describe them a little better and give us some more insight of what they are, but you have no idea what they are. And so he's like, I want to go and I want to search around the perimeter, outside this town, and look for them and see if they're there. Because if they are, we got a problem. And they're like, yeah, but you're in charge of protecting the city. If you leave, who's going to protect us? And he's like, I have deputies. Spoiler, he takes the deputies with him. And he leaves some little sleuth chick in the town. Luckily for him, she turns out to be Supergirl, but we'll get to that later. So anyway, he's also a scumbag to his mother. His dad is gone, and his mother is a laundry cleaner person, right? Just a humble laundry cleaner. And he walks in to visit her, and as he's walking, he's like, I don't know why I even bother coming here to talk to her anymore. I feel that my visits to her are less and less. Which I'm like, oh, okay, so his mom's a scumbag. Maybe she cheated. Maybe that's why dad's gone. Who knows? No, she's a sweet lady. She's a really nice lady that's just worried about her son, and he literally refers to her as woman. And she just takes it all in stride. She's lonely, she's got nobody, she's just, an honest working woman, and he treats her like crap. I cannot find a redeeming quality on this guy at all. In the 252 pages, I hated him with every page flip. He is a piece of shit. So anyway, they go into the forest and they go searching for these things, and they do encounter some stuff, but they tear through it. The three of them, there's him and his two deputies, and they tear through it with nothing but swords. It's insane. The whole premise, the whole thing is insane. At the end of it, you're shaking your head going, what the hell did I just read? And it's so bloated. It's so much flowery language. This guy should write a book of poems. I'm not even being mean. I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's just his grasp of the English language is phenomenal, and he cannot wait to show it to you. And it's just, every paragraph is over described. I knew more about the environment than I knew about the characters. Everything is so over described. Your brain starts shutting off. Your brain won't allow you to accept it anymore. It's just, I had to go back. It's like, what did I just read? What just happened? Oh, the horse. The horse just trotted 10 feet. Oh, okay. I don't know why you needed 3 sentences and a full paragraph to describe that, but man, I've never seen a horse trot quite like that before. And it's maddening. It's maddening. That all being said, it was super descriptive. It was a very descriptive book. Not where it should have been, but in the background, very much so. And the grammar and the syntax and the formatting are all pretty good. There were a couple of small errors with like word tense, what like word the proper word instead of legend, he used legendary. I mean, really nitpicking minor stuff that yeah I noticed, but it didn't like detract from the book or anything like that. He does do this weird thing where he changes tenses. 1 minute it'll be in first person, the next minute it'll be in third person. Then we're talking in present tense, and then we're talking in past, and it's a little jarring. He does use italics to try to separate the two, but it's confusing a little bit in an already confusing book. So while it's not the absolute worst thing I've ever read in my entire life, or even since I've started doing this, it's pretty bad. So I've got to put this one at 1.5 stars. I mean, it made me mad reading this book. And I hate to say that. I really do. I mean, the guy seems like a nice guy. He really does. He reached out. He's got a lot of books. He's got followers. So maybe it's just me. There's a very good chance that this book just isn't written for a scumbag like me. There is a very good chance like that. I'm not saying not to take a chance on it if this weird, like, I don't know, Assassin's Creed Batman brooding character with real like hypocritical problems appeals to you, or you just want to give it a chance. It's not a bad deal. It's a relatively it's a bargain really to get it the way it is. It's a longer book, so you're gonna get your money's worth like in length and entertainment, I guess, but I gotta give it 1.5 stars. I'm sorry, man. I just did not like this story. That's going to be it for the non-spoiler review. I know I ranted, but if you think that's bad, I'm going to play an ad, and then I'm going to go ahead and throw up the spoiler review, so buckle up. Hey, all. So everybody knows that just finishing a book isn't the entire battle. You gotta have an editor. Otherwise, there's a good chance your book is going to be awful. So if you're looking for one, my editor, elatoria at Fiverr.com, is available for a very good price. If you want, go check her out. Spoilers are coming next, so if you're still here when the music stops, that's on you. All right, the spoilers. So, again, I apologize for not liking this book, but all I ever promised when I started doing this was that I would never accept any compensation so that the integrity in channel could never be questioned. And reviews like this are how you know that I'm one. This guy contacted me, I bought his book, and I just didn't like it. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you why. So, at the beginning of the book, like I said, you start off and there's this weird prologue thing where the guy goes out, has a seizure on the ground, where he does some foreshadowing, some predictions. I guess it's an annual thing, and then he turns around and goes about his day. It makes no sense. There's some alluding to maybe some Oriental culture. He uses the Wojin. He says some things like, Sanatori-san, things like that. And so I'm like, okay, maybe we got a little samurai ninja stuff going on, or maybe we got a little, a little cross-culture thing going on. I don't know. And then at the very end, it tells you it's the year 2017. And I'm like, all right, so it's an alternate reality, I guess? So we'll go with that. Like I said, starts off, the main character, Logan Hale, is a reeve, and a reeve is basically a sheriff of some sort, and he runs around the city jumping from rooftop to rooftop. Number one, that would aggravate the crap out of me to have some guy jumping on the roof of my house at all hours of the day and night. Second of all, he's 200 pounds of solid muscle. When he's running around on your roof, when he's landing from jumping on your roof, you're going to notice. He's not stealthy, but that's why he likes to go around on the rooftops, because nobody sees him. Nobody ever looks up. I hear you pounding on my roof, asshole. But whatever. The real problem I have with that, other than his parkouring across the houses and stuff, is he likes to slam himself into walls and climb with his little hand claw things. That's going to cause damage. I don't care who you are, you're going out there and being like, get off my roof! Not only that, but he likes to throw himself off of rooftops and land on the ground. And he does it like he's the fucking Crow, like with his hands outstretched and everything in the T, and then land superhero style on the ground. And he feels the kinetic energy coursing up his legs and dissipating in his thighs. I'm like, that's not how that works. You drop 40 feet at 200 pounds like that, especially after launching yourself off a roof, your knees are going to blow out. Your feet, sure, I'll give you one, two, half a dozen times, but after that, your body's, it's going to take a toll. You're not running at a full gallop after that. I don't care how much you run across the damn forest with a log on your back, or how many, bound and gagged friggin' laps you do in the pond, or how many books you read. You're going to screw yourself up something fierce. But okay, suspension of disbelief, rule of cool, I can get there. I can get there. My problem with this guy is who he is as a character, as a person. He's supposed to be this. He's you're led to believe that he's this man of the law, the known law is what it's called, and that he works for these people in the government, the council or whatever, in order to protect this city. And how big the city is, I'm not really sure. Sometimes, like I said, it's like a cowboy ghost town or western town or whatever. And other times, it's some weird, like, cathedral-esque town like Rome or so. I can't really place it. It changes. So we're going to say it's a city because it's referred to as a city a lot. So it's a big place, which makes me wonder why they've only got one Reeve. Why is this guy the number one? They should have dozens of people, right? Right? But no, it's just him and whoever he deputizes. And let me tell you something. He deputizes two people as far as I can tell. Because when the shit hits the fan, nobody comes to their aid. Nobody. People get mowed down in just droves. The whole friggin' city is basically gone with the exception of a handful of survivors that fit on a few boats. Like I said, spoilers. So he goes and that auto guy, he's dead. He decides that it's poisoning, and he goes and breaks all sorts of laws. So it's not a justice thing that he's got going on. It's just an ego thing. It's just, I am the law. He's Judge Dredd, Batman, and the Assassin's Creed guy. It's driving me nuts. So the guy goes and he does all these things and he runs around, and you're introduced eventually to this character called the Veil, Amelia, an orphan who somehow became Batgirl. I mean, that's really all she is. She's a thief in the night. She likes to run around on the rooftops as well. She idolizes Reeve for whatever flippin' reason, and she does vigilantism. She jumps off of rooftops, lands on bad guys, admitted bad guys, and beats them up a little bit and tells them, "Be good, I'll be watching you." And the guys, these career criminal guys go, "Ah!" And she runs off into the shadows, and they call her the Veil. She's a vigilante, and Reeve even says at one point he'd like to capture her and bring her to justice. But he forgets all that because he finds her entertaining. Again, his whole moral compass is broken. And not just broken, smashed on the ground and pissed on. So anyway, as he's investigating this suicide murder, which again never makes any sense, why they attacked this guy. It's a small cut on the back of his neck, so it had to be something intimate or really close. You never find out. You never find out who cut him, who killed him. You don't know why that happened. He was gonna off himself anyway. There was no reason for it whatsoever. In fact, they had to have caught him on the bridge about to jump. Why bother? Why? But again, never answered in the book. No, that whole plot line actually gets dropped after after he doesn't need it anymore. So, okay. So he ends up, he's running around this town doing very little. I think he's just a walking center point so that we can get more flowery speech about what the environment looks like. And he eventually convinces the council to let him and a couple of his deputies go outside the city, even though they leave it completely undefended. Which, again, it's a city with like 3 defenders. We'll be generous and say maybe there were 3 other people in town, but you never see them. They go into town, or he convinces them to let them leave the city to look around outside to make sure that this Wojin threat, which is what the poison led him to believe, did it, because apparently only the Wojin can find out about this poison, even though this guy did and he's not a Wojin. They do have this crypt down below the city that he seems to have exclusive access to. Him and the Veil, they both go down there and they read everything. Nobody else bothers. So he goes and he finds the Veil, tracks her down, no problem, and she's all starstruck with him, and he's like, "While I'm gone, you're in charge." And she's like, "Why me?" And that's what I was asking. And he's just like, "Yes," and leaves. I mean, that's really it. There's no explanation or anything. The only thing he tells her is, if something happens that you can't handle by yourself, go to this guy in the government who's on the council. He's the one I trust. Let me tell you something. When the shit does hit the fan and she can't handle it and she goes to this guy, he tells her, quick, get in here and hide. We'll never survive this fight. And that's it. That's it. And she, of course, refuses and goes back out to fight. We'll get to that in a minute. So, wonderful advice. Again, there's nothing redeeming about this guy. He's a complete tool, a complete scumbag. I don't like the main character at all. There's nothing about him that I like. So, him and the two deputies, which pretty much make up the entire defense of this city, again, wow, they go out and they are gone for days trying to track down this phantom menace that he's positive is out there. And lo and behold, they find some prints. They follow him, lose him, fall back, follow him, and lose him again, go back, find him. And as they find him for like the third time, one of the guys, one of the scouts that actually made the tracks is watching them. So they go tearing after the scout, who's on foot. They're on horseback. This guy's on foot. They get away. Yeah, I said that right. So they spend the next day or so chasing after this guy. They get hit by a snowstorm that comes out of nowhere that makes them take shelter in a brewery that just so happens to be up working the late shift, brewing beer in the middle of a snowstorm because, hey, if you're going to be inside anyway, why not? Luckily, the guy is awesome. Like, the brewer is probably the coolest person you meet in the entire book. Him and his sons brew a bunch of ale and stuff like that, and they've got these recipes passed down from, like, back with when friars were doing it. So it's actually the coolest part of the story. They sit there and they drink. The two deputies are just wasted, and this guy knows they're wasted, but he's like, we need to keep pushing forward. He's lost them. He knows he's lost their loyalty. They're like, we want to go home, and whatever. So they spend the night at this guy's place, getting drunk and eating. They try to pay the guy in the next day, and he won't take their money. They stable their horse. I mean, like I said, probably the coolest guy you meet in the entire story. Him and his sons, I hope they live forever. They leave. They find the tracks right away, and they discover that the tracks are an army. They were the scouts led them in a circle somehow, and it's an army of these Wojin things that haven't been seen in generations. But now they're back, and they've amassed an army, and they're heading straight for this guy's city because. Blah. So, needless to say, him and the two deputies that apparently could have stopped an army. And in fairness, when they did run into some weird ghoul things on their initial trek outside of the city, there was like 8 of them, and they had no problem dispatching these guys, like at all. Like there was some weird, creepy goblin ghoul things with, pale arms and claws and blah, and they killed all 8 of them, like without breaking a sweat. It was a joke to them. And then they found the little nest of babies and they killed them too, which was brutal. I'll give you that. That was a cool scene, but whoa, I would have done the same thing. Anyway, so they find this army, or they find the remains of this army, which is obviously heading back to the city, and they get to the city before the main character and the other two can get back. Needless to say, the Amelia, the veiled chick that they leave behind, although she admits she's got no combat training whatsoever and has never even used her dagger in violence, she is able to take these Wojin out left, right, and center. Her legs are literally rubber from all the running around she does. That's in the book. That's not me making stuff up. She literally says her legs feel like rubber. And yet she's these Vikings, these muscle-bound, berserk, adrenaline rush, possibly intoxicated with some sort of weird, performance-enhancing drugs. She's still able to go toe-to-toe with all. She, cuts them down left, right, and center. She overpowers one and breaks his arm and then takes his dagger that he drops and slits his throat. She stabs one in the legs. She goes toe-to-toe. She's exhausted. She's run over to the government guy's house, Winston, and she's like, help! Reeves said to talk to you. And he's like, hide. We can't do anything about this. She's like, no, I need to fight. No one else is fighting. Literally, the book makes no reference to anyone else fighting. People are dying left, right, and center all over the place, but she keeps running into them in ones. It's like, whoa. She's also got incredible luck. So she's exhausted. Like, she's been running around. She's trying to get to the orphans because she is an orphan and she got a soft spot for kids. And I get that. I can respect that. Go Vale. But she goes after the orphanage, and of course it's on the other side of the city because we need drama. And she's running, and her legs, her arms are tired, her muscles are exhausted. She's completely depleted her armor and armory, her wares, everything. She had bolas and caltrops and stuff like that, and she's out. She's got her dagger and she's got her grit and a very fatigued body. She gets attacked by one of these berserking Viking guys, and he's foaming at the mouth. He's got a hatchet, he's got a handful of scalps, and he's fresh. You know what I mean? He has not been fighting, he's just been killing. She's exhausted. She goes toe to toe with him, knocks him down, turns around, and the guy comes after with the hatchet. She falls down on her back. He raises the hatchet up and brings it down. She goes to the side. He misses. He raises it up to hit her again. She rolls to the other side. She does that a few more times. This guy can't hit her. Apparently, to avoid a hatchet coming down on you when you're on your back, you just got to roll slightly to each side. He's not going to use his other hand. He's just stupid. So, of course, as he's doing this, he raises his arms up too high, exposes his belly. She stabs him in the gut, which doesn't kill him right away, but it will. And he brings down this hatchet with his full body weight, all of his strength. She reaches up, I swear to God, it's in the book. She reaches up, she spears her legs, her rubbery legs up, and catches the hand with the hatchet before it can come down on her. This chick is dead 8 ways from Sunday, but the author didn't want her to die. If you don't want her to die, dude, just put a cape and tights on her, have her underwear on the outside, and we'll get it. We'll get it. She's Supergirl. She can't be killed. Holy crap. This girl fought better than Ronda Rousey on Fight Night. Okay? So, needless to say, the orphan survived because she's a hero. The dude leaves his deputies behind. He's flying back to the city, doesn't get there in time. And of course, there was an army of Wojin there, a army of them. The book literally says it's an army. A massive amount of Wojin have attacked. And apparently they have some supernatural banshee with them that screams at people, that terrifies them. I get that. That's actually kind of cool. He gets to the city and he feels super guilty because he shouldn't have left. He realizes, oh, wow, I really shouldn't have done that. So he's looking at all the dead people. He gets to where the orphans are for whatever reason. And, of course, they're all there looking up at him. The Veil is looking up at him, and they all ask the same question. Where were you? Why did you leave us? Fair question, but not fair question. I really doubt if he was there, he would have done anything else. Okay, that's not fair. If with the way this story was, of course he would have been able to kill the army single-handedly. I'm sure he would have gotten some cool scars and he'd have been exhausted afterwards, but every single one of them would have died and he'd have been alive. So maybe they read the book before me and they knew that he could have stopped him, but the book is kind of based in reality. He doesn't have any superpowers. He's just strong, and that doesn't make you stab proof. Okay, and apparently they have asphyxiation poison that never makes another appearance at all for any reason in the entire book. So then, of course, he's all upset, and instead of helping the survivors or doing anything useful, he wanders off in a stupor of shame. He does see his mom again, who has snapped out of terror, but he does nothing for her, because again, the main character is a absolute piece of shit. And he wanders off towards the shore. When he gets to the shore, he finds a whole bunch of the survivors from his city getting on boats. They're all getting on boats to go north, to get away, because the Wojin are going to come back, and we don't want to be here for that. So they're abandoning the city, they're abandoning everybody that's there to get on these boats and leave, and he just gets on a boat. In fairness, he follows the delusion he's having of some girl that friend-zoned him. Literally, I'm not making that up. She friend-zoned him, and he's super rapey about her. But he gets on this boat, and that one guy is like, "I'll pay for your fare there on this escape craft. Apparently, you have to pay to get somewhere, and because we could use some protection." I'm like, "Yeah, he did a bang up job so far," but that's how the book ends, and I was so happy to be done with this book, but it made me mad. Everything about this book made me mad. The technical writing, the vocabulary on this guy is astounding, but way overwritten, way overdescribed, super bloated. And the story, if you get past all the flowery writing, which actually does affect the way your brain reads it after a little while, you start your brain rejects a lot of words and you have to go back and reread stuff. Once you get past that, the story is so paper thin and poorly constructed that it's frustrating. It's like, why did I just sludge through all that for no reward? This was awful. The story, the main character, all the characters. I was more interested in the guy, the brewery guy, the alehouse guy, and his sons than anything else. Because when they're at the alehouse, he kind of like he dialed back the description. I don't know if it was an edit or something he added later, or maybe it was just that caught my attention. I don't know, but that part really sang to me. And as soon as he left the alehouse, it was like getting punched in the face again. It was like, ah, here we go again. So yeah, 1.5 stars out of 5. I really didn't like this book. I really, really didn't. If you're into the big flowery writing and the super descriptions of everything, people don't sneeze without being a phlegmy mist of bacteria-laden droplets spewing forth, I apologize, from his orifice hole. I mean, it's just like, I exaggerate a little bit to clarify, but you get my point. Well, it's over. It's done. It's reviewed. Integrity in check. I don't think I'm getting invited to this guy's birthday party anytime soon, but that's okay. Liking me after review is not a prerequisite or a postrequisite. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I apologize if I ranted, but expect that. When it's a bad review, when it's a review where it's going to be like 2 or less, I'm probably going to rant a bit because I'm going to be frustrated. I'm going to be upset. I don't know why, but that's just who I am. If you don't like that, I apologize. I'll work on it. As always, though, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as quick as I can. But as always, thanks.